And now we're going to want to get the very latest on the track of the storm. Michelle's been busy all morning long tracking the very latest for us.
Well, Danielle and Patrick, from what I can see on the radar, and I'll show you that in just a minute, it looks like the center of what is now Tropical Storm Irene is just moving into southwestern Connecticut. So the top headlines from the storm right now is that the rain will start to taper off as we head into the afternoon hours, but and the tornado watch is canceled, and that was not a surprise, a little bit early, which is good news. The strong winds are going to continue. We're still seeing on the backside of this storm in places like Pennsylvania and New York still some 50-60 mile an hour wind gusts. So we're going to still continue to have that risk of more down limbs and branches, trees uprooted, and power lines knocked down as we head into the afternoon and even perhaps the first part of the overnight hours tonight. These are winds right now. They are sustained in Providence at just about tropical storm force. We've got a 35 mile an hour sustained wind in Taunton and 33 mile an hour wind sustained in the Boston area. Now, of course, this is well below our hurricane strength, which is a 74 mile an hour sustained wind. We're getting so much wind and tree damage here because of how wet the month of August has been so far. We picked up the rain yesterday. We had some heavy rain overnight. That has caused the ground to be very saturated and it's uprooting trees. You combine that with wind gusts of 55 to 60 miles an hour in Newport, New Bedford, a 60 mile an hour gust right now in Groton, and that is causing those limbs and branches to be down. Oh, wow, city cam visibility is back down to almost nil now, and that's as those winds have picked up. 72 degrees, we're down a degree as well, and I expect those temperatures to keep fluctuating. A little dry air reaching up towards Kent County now, so we've had reports of a little break of sun in there. Not surprising, that's the case typically as that dry air wraps around the storm. I do want to show you the bigger picture here because there is a lot of dry air now. Long Island, the rain is pretty much shut off, and we're going to start to get into some of that drier air as we get further into the afternoon hours. But actually our lightning tracker is still showing some lightning strikes over southeastern New York, and want to talk about this storm surge because with this morning's high tide we had an over 3-foot storm surge in Providence. We've had just over 3-foot storm surge reported in Quonset as well, which is right what the forecast was for the upper parts of Narragansett Bay. This evening's high tide right around 8 o'clock in the evening. We're looking at a second storm surge here with coastal flooding expected. We could still be seeing winds 55 to 65 mile an hour in gusts. Well, we're looking at a 3 to 6 foot storm surge in the upper part of Narragansett Bay and perhaps as much as a 4 to 7 foot surge in Buzzards Bay. So that's why one of the reasons, that and the wind, that this hurricane warning is not expiring anytime soon. Once you see the rain stop and slow down, it's still not safe to go out. I mean, I think a lot of the deaths that we've had reported so far from Irene have been from trees falling on cars or on people as they try and go out after the rain shuts off. Well, we're going to keep with this hurricane warning here. Coastal flooding, very strong winds. This is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You can see there's still this tropical storm force wind field here, and it stretches all the way down to New Jersey. So this is what we have to wait to pass through our area, and it's really until we get into the very late afternoon and evening hours and perhaps even into the overnight that the threat of at least gusts to tropical storm force will come to an end. So we are going to continue to watch for what appears to be those damaging winds continuing. So this is where I'm putting the center of Tropical Storm Irene. Now it's moving very quickly at about 22 miles an hour. It looks to be just moving into Connecticut right now, and it'll be continuing to race up. But notice these strong winds. Now these are sustained winds over 25 miles per hour. The reason I want to show you that is that, I mean, we're long past this storm exiting the Delaware, Maryland area. We still even have some very strong winds into parts of North Carolina. So the wind field is just so expansive with this storm, and the wave heights haven't even peaked yet to our waters south and east of us, which is why we're concerned about the evening high tide as well. So we're talking about at 5 o'clock this morning that 15-foot waves. Notice they build to almost 25 feet by 6 o'clock in the evening, just to the south and east of Nantucket. And we're going to have those driving winds here being pushed into our coast for the evening high tide. By the morning hours tomorrow, they are back down to about 14 feet. So here's what I expect to start as far as timing as we go into the afternoon hours. We're still looking at 30 to 50 mile an hour winds. Gusts may be as high as over 60 miles an hour. Perhaps an isolated 70 mile an hour wind gust can't be ruled out. The rain, of course, already seeing that beginning to taper off in most areas. For the evening hours, still some 50 mile an hour wind gusts. And then here's that high tide again with the surge at 3 to 6 feet in Narragansett Bay and about 4 to 7 feet in Buzzards Bay. So we've seen these large waves, reports of expansive beach erosion, countless trees, limbs, and wires down at this point, coastal flooding, and of course power outages. One of the concerns here for our area is that we're probably not going to get a lot of help from our neighboring states getting the power back on, because everybody here in the Northeast, I mean just millions and millions of people dealing with this storm, which is why power outages may not be an issue just for today, but perhaps for a few days. Back to you guys.